Hello everyone, this is Vino. You are watching Vino School. Do subscribe and support us. So already we learned to use a read function as well as open function. In this session, we are going to learn a write function and writelines function. To start, we are going to create a variable name called OB. Then we are going to use open function to create path between Python and text file. So my text file name is file.txt, and then I am going to use a read mode. Then I am going to create a variable name to store my data. My data is Vino. Then here we are going to use write function. So by using object name, we are creating write function. Inside a write function, I'm going to give my variable name. So write function will take my data and it will store my data inside a file. So next I'm going to use flush function. If you are using flush function, it will take our data and it will store the data inside a file immediately. So that's why we are using flush function to store the data immediately. And then next, finally we have to use one more function if you are using write function. So that is called close function. So if you are using write mode, definitely we have to use close function, because after saving our data we have to close the path, because we are opening the path using open function. So as usual, if you are opening the door, we have to close the door. Adhe madri, if you are opening the path using open function, we have to close the path by using close function, right? So now we are going to execute our program. So you can see that file not found error in our interactive mode, because if you are using read mode, we can read only, but here we are trying to write the data by using write function. So for this process, read mode is not suitable, so we have to go for W or A. W is called write mode, A is called append mode, right? So next we are going to try W, write mode, for this example, for this program. So now we executed our file after changing our read mode into write mode. You can see that this time we are not getting error. So now we are going to open our file and we are going to check whether our data is stored there or not. You can see Vino is stored in file.txt. So next I am going to store another name called Vijay. Then I am going to run my program. I am going to execute my program. I am not getting any error. So then we have to check our data. So for that I am going to open my file again. So you can see Vijay is there. The newly added data is there, but the old data we know is not there. It is deleted, because if you are using W or write mode, you can store the data by using write mode, but there is a problem with write mode. If you are using write mode, the old data will be deleted. பாவமே பார்க்காது, எல்லாத்தையும் delete பண்ணிடும். Whatever the data we are sending newly, the new data alone will be stored there. So that's why we know is deleted, only Vijay is there inside a file. So what we have to do for this problem? So we have to go for another mode called append mode. If you are using append mode, you can add new data as well as old data will be retained. Old data will not deleted, right? So if you want to retain your old data and if you want to add new data, we have to use append mode. Write mode can be divided into two types, write and append. If you are using write, old data will be deleted. If you are using append, old data will be retained, new data will be added. So this time I am going to add Ajit. Then I am going to execute my program. So you know that my old data is Vijay. At present we are adding Ajit, and we are using append mode. So now we are going to open our file to check old data and new data are there or not. You can see here old data Vijay is there and new data Ajit is also there. So this is the purpose of using append mode. If you are using append mode, both the old and new data will be stored in a specific location or specific file. So next, write lines function, because every time we cannot store one name. So if you want to get 5 names or 10 names, you can get the values by using for loop. Then finally we can store whole data, all the data by using write lines functions. So for that, first we are going to create a list variable. So you know that what is list variable. So next we are using for loop. So inside for loop we are using range function. So inside range function we are giving 5. So you know that for loop will work 5 times. So inside for loop, inside its block, we are creating a name variable, and right hand side we are using input function. You know that what is the purpose of input function. So if you are using input function, we can get values from runtime. So I'm going to get 5 names from runtime. So I'm giving a string inside input function. Then after getting value from runtime, the values are stored inside a name variable. Then I'm going to use list one variable. Already it is empty variable. So here I am using append function. If you are using append function, okay, it will help us to add the data at the end of the file, right? So inside append function, the value which we got from runtime, that variable name we are going to give inside append function. So the name variable will be given inside append function. All the names will be stored inside a list variable using append function. Finally we are going to use write lines function to store all the data inside a file variable. So now we are going to execute our program. So we missed in there, for I in has to come. So again we are going to execute our program. Here we are going to get 5 names. We know Leo, Das, Kavish. So by using append function, we stored all the data in a list one variable. You know that it is empty list because we are using empty square bracket. Then by using writelines function, we stored all the data in a file .txt. Now we are going to check. Here you can see our old data is there. We know the Vijay and Ajit, and new data is also there. But here you can see the problem. All the data are stored in the same line without giving space. Because if you are using write function or append function, they will not create any space and as well as new line. We have to give the if you want new line, we have to give it manually by using escape sequence. So we are going to delete all the data and we are going to save the file. Then we will go back to the program. So here we are going to do small modification. After the name, we are going to add escape sequence. So you know that \n will create a new line. After adding name, it will create new line, right? So the data will be stored in a proper pattern. So same, we know Leo, Das, Kavish and Raghu. Same names we are going to enter. So we enter, then Again, we are going to open our file to check our data. So here you can see all the data are stored in the same line without giving space, but here the data are stored in a new lines, right, as we displayed in output. In the same pattern, it is stored inside a text file. In next session, we are going to discuss about handling binary files.